Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into an absolutely charming and honestly super profound classic Bengali tale. It's called Diksha, written by Muhammad Nasir Ali. We're going to unpack a story that takes us on a totally wild ride. It starts off with some seriously chaotic classroom pranks and ends up in this deeply moving emotional transformation. It's basically a masterclass in educational psychology, all wrapped up in an incredibly entertaining narrative. Let's get right into it.
To really get a read on our protagonist, a young boy named Lebu, you just have to look at his answer to a simple writing prompt. A substitute Bengali teacher asked the class to write a short essay on what they would do if they were given 500 rupees. Now, while the other students wrote these noble, high-minded things about building schools or starting businesses, Lebu wrote this hilariously blunt masterpiece. If I got 500 rupees, I would sit back with my legs crossed and just eat. I mean, come on, that perfectly captures his mischievous, totally carefree, and slightly rebellious attitude right from the jump.
Section 1. A Study in Mischief. So you've got this kid, right? And there's a stark contrast in how the adults around him actually view his behavior. His teacher, Malabi Sahib, is a simple, highly respected, religious man who is just terrified of Lebu's endless pranks. He literally views the kid as a hopeless devil. But the headmaster? He has a completely different take. He sees intelligent potential. He firmly believes that if guided correctly, these kinds of exceptional, high-energy kids turn into truly great human beings. It's a fundamental disagreement about hidden potential.
Section 2. Psychological Accountability in Action.
The headmaster finally gets a chance to put his potential focus theory to the test. The crucial turning point happens when Lebu gets busted writing a disrespectful poem on a wall, mocking an elderly village teacher. When called out, Lebu actually does something surprising. He confesses. Because he showed the courage to admit he was wrong, the headmaster does something totally unexpected. The traditional punishment, the cane, is completely skipped. Instead, the punishment is forced daily walks to school under the watchful eye of Malabi Sahib. This brilliantly illustrates the concept of psychological accountability. Rather than just making the kid afraid of physical pain, the headmaster uses forced proximity to a respected authority figure to curb his mischievousness. It's an incredibly clever leadership strategy that keeps Lebu off the streets, while subtly building a mentorship dynamic.
Section 3. Chaos, Cockroaches, and Collateral.
Okay, so trace this timeline with me, because Lebu is about to push this psychological accountability to its absolute breaking point. Things escalate fast. We go from the disrespectful poem straight into the half-yearly exams. Malabi Sahib is hawkishly guarding the class, absolutely determined to catch Lebu cheating. He notices Lebu keeps peeking into his shirt pocket. Suspecting cheat sheets, the teacher swoops in, grabs the pocket, and finds a cigarette pack. Now, what happens next is pure, unadulterated chaos. Malabi angrily rips open the pack, fully expecting to find notes. Instead, out jump live, baby fishing bait cockroaches. Seeking refuge, these little guys immediately scurry up into Malabi Sahib's beard and down his wide sleeves. I mean, the poor innocent teacher goes into an absolute panic. He's jumping wildly onto desks, knocking over ink pots, ruining exam papers. It's a complete disaster.
Lebu is promptly dragged back to the headmaster after the cockroach incident, and he cheekily tries to hide his fishing plans with this unbelievable excuse. "I brought them to keep as pets, sir. You can't make this stuff up." The headmaster, not missing a beat, decides to humor him with a highly creative punishment. He tells Lebu, "Since you like cockroaches so much, go stand facing that corner of the room. There are cockroaches on that wall."
And that sets the stage for the fateful walk home. Lebu cleverly argues that if he has to walk to school with Malabi Sahib, he should have to walk home with him too. On the way back, Lebu spots a squirrel, pulls out his catapult, misses the squirrel, and shatters 15 to 20 earthen pots at a local potter's house. Smash! An absolute avalanche of pottery. Now consider these starkly contrasting consequences here. First, Lebu's cowardice. He instantly bolts and hides behind a nearby house to watch the fallout like it's some entertaining movie. Then Malabi's humiliation. The angry, half-crazed potter pens all the blame entirely on the innocent teacher. Unable to pay for the massive damage in cash, this highly respected man is forced to surrender his beloved everyday umbrella as collateral just to be allowed to leave.
Section 4. The Weight of Hidden Struggles.
Let's slow things down for a second. The very next day, Lebu is sitting in class absolutely terrified of being called to the headmaster's office. But the call never comes. Instead, Malabi Sahib walks in to teach, looking incredibly gloomy, and for the first time ever, he's without his constant companion, his umbrella. Seeing this visual proof of the pain he caused, a real, heavy pang of sympathy and guilt finally hits Lebu.
Unable to shake this feeling, he forces himself to go to Malabi Sahib's lodgings to apologize. But while standing outside, he accidentally overhears the teacher talking to his landlord, revealing some truly heartbreaking hidden realities. His children back in his home village are sick. His family's ancestral land is facing an auction for unpaid taxes. He is so utterly overwhelmed by these real-world burdens that he's seriously considering quitting teaching altogether just to return to farming.
Lebu hears his teacher say this exact, devastating phrase. This job no longer feels good. How many problems can I handle from so far away? Just let those words sink in for a moment. It's a shattering realization. Lebu suddenly sees right past the strict, easily startled teacher facade. He sees a vulnerable, struggling father carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. Lebu realizes right then and there that his so-called harmless pranks were actively harming a man who was already barely holding on.
Section 5. Diksha, a true awakening. When Malabi steps out and sees Lebu, he doesn't yell, he doesn't punish him, he just tiredly tells Lebu to take his leave application to the headmaster because he simply doesn't have the heart to go to school. Lebu, entirely broken by what he's just heard, blurts out this simple but incredibly powerful apology. "Forgive me, sir, I will never be naughty again." Unlike his earlier forced confessions, this one is driven by pure internal remorse. And how does Malabi Sahib react? He pulls the boy into a hug. He tells him, "No, Lebu, you didn't do it on purpose. We just want you to be good humans." It is a moment of incredible grace that completely validates the headmaster's initial belief in the boy's heart.
Which brings us right back to the title of our story, Diksha. As a noun, it translates to an initiation or a profound awakening. And honestly, that perfectly encapsulates the psychological transformation we just witnessed. The exact moment Lebu sheds his childish, destructive habits, he wasn't changed by the threat of a cane, right? He was initiated into adulthood and maturity through the power of witnessing adult vulnerability and receiving completely undeserved forgiveness.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Is true education found in rigid discipline or in the transformative power of empathy? Muhammad Nasir Ali's brilliant story strongly suggests that real, lasting behavioral change doesn't come from fear. It comes from connection, understanding, and the sudden, profound awakening of the human heart. Take a moment to think about how that applies to the way you teach, mentor, and guide the people in your own life today. Thank you so much for exploring this beautiful story with me.